Next on the docket, the death of 2-year-old Gabrielle Boyd of Mamaroneck. Now, we're getting new information about the toddler's mother, Cynthia Arce, and her interaction with the police right before the girl died. Her attorney telling the Journal News that Arce told the cops the matter would be settled the following day when the father was set for a visit. But the dad, Stephen Boyd, never saw his daughter again. Boyd, she had filed an order granting him custody, and police went to the child's home on Friday, April 27th, but they never executed the order. They were told no, and the door was closed by the mother. Now, Child Protective Services, they were notified, but they reportedly never made contact that night. Some say that they went by late that evening, but again, without police response. Well, the following day, police did respond. That after a 911 call came in from Arce's mother, and they found the injured toddler. Arce then fought with the police, stabbing with knives. She was then tased and then even shot. She is recovering. With all that said, the young girl taken to the hospital where she then died, an autopsy being performed on the child. The results still not yet finished. Now, joining us now to help us sort this out, family law attorney David Grauer. And David, I have a host of questions for this, and we'll get into in a minute what could have been done, but I'm going to put this in layman's terms. I'm a father, and with my counsel, I go to the court, and I obviously, and apparently there was texts showing a very distraught mother. Allegedly, she was being removed from her house, and she had said in the language that she wasn't going to be long of this world. We'll see if that's borne out. Anyway, the dad goes to the court, and a judge, without restrictions, issues an order to remove the child. He then goes to the police department with officers. They go to the house. They hand the order. The mother, in effect, or grandmother says, thanks but no thanks, and they close the door. That's where the questions then happen. Phone calls made, allegedly, to the district attorney's office. The ADA says, stand down, allegedly, to the police. They go home. Phone calls are made. We don't know if the judge gets another phone call or a judge gets a call. Supposedly at 11:30 that night, Child Protective Services goes by. No one answers the door. Then the 911 call comes in the next day, and that's the only time something happens. So to me, here's my question. Let's go to 5:30, that they rap on the door and the door opens. An order was treated as a request from the layman's perspective when the door got closed. What were the options that law enforcement then could have done, and who should have been Solomon to say, knock the door down or get an arrest warrant and go back in because of a failure to respond? What should have happened that didn't happen Friday afternoon?
Okay, well, Rich, for starters, you're asking certainly a range of valid, troubling questions in a tragic case with a tragic outcome, where as a result of the outcome, people are going to have charged emotions, understandably so. But you have to take a step back and examine the underlying court process that gave rise to the court order that the police arrived with, because that becomes the first issue of inquiry. Yes, Dad went to the court, and I did receive a copy of the order to show cause. But we haven't seen the underlying papers. Now, we understand that allegations were made, which obviously resulted in this stay-away order. But if you look carefully at the order to show cause, you'll see that what the request that was being made was for an order of protection as well as a modification of custody. This was initiated or launched under a visitation, if you will.
Okay, but here's my point. But I'm the dad, okay? I have reason, and a judge said that I have valid reason to be worried about the safety of my child. So if all I'm caring about at the moment, forget about the custody arrangement, I'm worried about the safety of the kid. Why, when the door got opened, the order was presented, and the door got closed, why didn't something happen before the next day? That's the only thing that I'm still, nobody can answer me a week later.
Well, it's a very valid question, but you have to get back to the fact that the order that was executed and the order that was signed by the judge was not on the face a temporary order of protection. Now, you can have a long argument and a long discussion, a long debate that perhaps it needed to have been and perhaps it should have been. Perhaps there needed to have been filed a family offense petition at the same time that a modification of custody petition was filed.
But if they had an order saying...
they had it, but understand the following. They had an order that said it was a stay-away order. And it certainly arguments could have been made and should have been made that it was akin to a temporary order of protection. But this is not the first time that the police department has been given an order
but here's what I know happened. When the door got closed at 5:30, clearly there was confusion on the scene. They called, as I understand it, the district attorney's office. There was questions, and there still is open-ended questions. If they obviously called back to the precinct house and they were asking their bosses, what do I do? I believe, or I hope, somebody called the judge, okay? So clearly you have confusion at this point. My point comes back again to, I got an order. I don't know. As a layperson, if an order is presented, that's not like, hey, we'd like this or not. I got an order. You got to turn the kid over. This isn't Monday morning quarterbacking. What I'm saying is, I'm the cop. I'm not expected to be the judge or the district attorney. Can I get an arrest warrant, or can I get a warrant that somebody is not obeying an order and that now changes now? That's an additional charge and somebody can go in. How about just checking the welfare of the child?
Well, certainly, look, I'm not here to advocate for one position or another.
I'm asking what should have and could have been done.
But this is not the first time that the police department has been given an order of this sort. There needs to be protocol in place. There needs to be persons that the police officer goes to. Does he ask the legal department in the municipality for which he's working? Does the chief of police communicate with the district attorney? There's a duty judge in the family court who's on duty all the time.
David, you're now the attorney of the dad, okay?
And it's Friday night at 5:30.
It's Friday night at 5:30. Who do you say to the cop, damn it, get on the phone with X? I assume you're not going to say, okay, well then we'll get to it when we get to it. They didn't go Saturday because they were now executing an order. They went Saturday because a 911 call came in that they ended up having to rush the kid to a hospital who eventually died. Well, Rich, so it sounds like they were going to wait here till Monday.
Well, Rich, everybody can be Monday morning on this, and certainly anybody playing the role of the attorney for the dad can certainly say to the police officers...
But I'm saying to you, you're the attorney for the dad. What do you do at 5:30?
Well, I tell the police, look, these are the underlying allegations. These are what the papers allege that gave rise to the order that the judge signed.
I'll play along with you. I'm the cop and say, hey, listen, I can't kick the door down. What do you want me to do? What do you then say?
You need to take it up the ladder. You need to get direction.
Now, who's the ladder? Do you go to
perhaps he doesn't make a unilateral...
Do you go to the DA? Do you go to the judge?
Well, the police officer certainly perhaps is not equipped to make a unilateral decision. There needs to be a protocol in place.
But wait a minute. If you have an arrest warrant for a client of mine and you go to my client's house and you've got an order signed by a judge saying, arrest this guy, and you knock on the door and he says, sorry, I'm not coming out, you are authorized to go in and get him. The problem that I have is a judge issued an order and the order says remove the child from the home forthwith. I don't believe at that time that it's the father's responsibility to start explaining the underlying charges, because quite frankly, the father could be embellishing, it could be exaggerating. That's why we go to judges. Judges issue orders.
So I'm not crazy, I'm confused here, right?
No,
not at all.
But understand what the underlying facts are, because at the end of the day, if it was a search warrant, if they said come in and get the phone, you know, they can go into your home.
Okay, wait.
So now at the end of the day,
you worked in the same, under a different district attorney.
Sure.
You worked in the same county district attorney's office that supposedly got a phone call. Yeah. Somebody calls in, and you're the ADA at the time, right? What do? Do you go to the judge?
Well, as an ADA, though, now it's not a criminal matter, right? So the ADA probably...
So what do you tell the cop?
I would tell them what the ADA told them. My understanding is the ADA said, look, it's not our jurisdiction. We don't handle these kinds of matters. However, what should happen, virtually every police department, everyone I'm aware of in Westchester County and everywhere else, they have a manual. You have a protocol. So there's a different protocol if you're doing a search warrant. There's a different protocol if you're going for an arrest warrant. Different one if you're dealing with emotionally disturbed people. If you have a hostage situation or a barricaded person. And the police are supposed to know how to handle that. Now, it's up to the commanding officers to make sure they have the correct personnel working on all
There's no way the
multiple
manual
shifts.
says leave.
No,
right.
it certainly doesn't say leave.
But here's my thing, David. I can bring this full circle. Why wouldn't? And again, I'm the only non-attorney here. If I'm in that same situation, I say, get the judge on the phone. The same judge who wrote the order, he can at least get the answer as to what we do. He obviously saw cause enough to remove the child, as Jimmy says, forthwith. So my question to you is, why didn't a phone call, and maybe it did, but why didn't the judge get on the phone and say, this is what happens?
No, certainly no one's going to have an answer to that question, Rich, and we don't know
Why the
whether
heck
or
not?
Well, because no one's going to have that answer because we have no ability to have knowledge as to whether the police officer would have or should have made such a phone call. I get right back to what Mayo says. There's a protocol here. First of all, this was not an arrest warrant. This was not even a temporary order of protection. It was an order saying...
So you think the protocol was followed properly?
No, I'm not suggesting that for one moment. What I'm saying is certainly there are cracks and breaks in the system. And unfortunately, in a case of this sort, you see a tragic result as a consequence of that. You need to step back and examine what were the papers were presented. Perhaps the correct order wasn't signed. Maybe there needed to have been a temporary order of protection. Now, if the police arrived with a temporary order of protection, there would have been an arrest made on the spot.
Okay, let me make two quick observations.
That's
the
a critical,
fact that
that's
we're
a critical
sitting
difference.
here Wednesday, and listen, I'm a fan of the DA, I'm a fan, but the fact that we're sitting here Wednesday night, and I still don't know, okay, I haven't heard boo from the police, I haven't heard boo from the district attorney, I haven't heard boo here from the judge that was involved in this. The fact that we're still asking questions, imagine if I'm that father. Imagine, and by the way, the father only found out after the kid was already at the hospital the following day, okay? So imagine. Well, I'm sorry, but to me, again, maybe this is your guys' world, but tie goes to the kid. Like tie goes to the run, tie goes to the kid, remove the kid, you can always apologize the next day. Unfortunately, that's not an option.
Challenge it the next day. You know, if there was something
Couldn't
that wasn't
argue
done
with that
right,
proposition.
you challenge it the next day.
No one can argue with that proposition because people are going to have a hard time advocating the position that it would not have been permissible for the police to go in and take further action. The question is, was it compulsory? And that's where you're going to get differing views based upon the order and based upon what the judge directed.
But it does seem, again, a lot of CYA went on here on Mamaroneck on a Friday night. All right, coming up next, Shelley Silver's corruption retrial, moving fast, closing arguments set for tomorrow, and the defense didn't call a single witness. You're going to ask the panel what this tells us about the case, and if it's deja vu, as Yogi would say, all over again.